So you see that when the calling here, he made himself. But as they prepared all the choices of food from the table of the king to give to him, he refused. He made himself useful. The man was pure and righteous and holy, and he refused to eat the choices of food. Out of the pressure of the chief of staff of Nebuchadnezzar, that if he goes there looking hungry, unfed, that the king will kill him. So he begged him to at least eat something, to be fattened and look good and presentable and be clothed in a clothes, which he refused. Instead, he chose to eat vegetables. If you read more of Daniel, you will also see where Daniel fast came about, when he was fasting regarding the order of Nebuchadnezzar about his dream, which we begin to see in chapter 2. And as you go on up to chapter 4 and then up to 10, so you see how God used him. But first, he himself was holy and righteous and acceptable person, and the Lord used him. So that's another way that God calls people. But first, you must be holy and righteous. If God did not call you directly or by the means we already explained, but by your behavior and your way of life, you could make yourself useful and acceptable choice that God could use. And yet Daniel was used indeed. But he prepared himself. So when somebody who is unholy, somebody who is unrighteous, somebody who himself is a sinner, somebody who is serving the interests of the world, the interest of the world there is presented to him in the choices of food and clothing, but he turned them all down and rejected the world that is offered to him as an empire that was in reign at the time. And the Lord picked him and used him for his work. He could have become like the rest of the people that were gathered along with them. He set himself apart to do God's will and purpose and be holy and righteous. So when one decides to serve the world, it's either you are with the world or you are with God. So you can see another way God could use somebody. But you see how God used him. Daniel did not make himself a prophet. He did not choose to speak for the Lord. He did not choose to do and perform the things. It came to him through the hand of unrighteousness. In order to convert that particular great power, Nebuchadnezzar, and to show him that no matter how great he is as he thinks about all his conquests, that he is subject to him, to God himself. He used the lowly in order to humble the mighty. It does not come out of unrighteousness like those that, as we see now, that decides to profess and promote things that is an abomination in the eyes and the sight of the Lord. That is why we say we can pray for him, to look at what God is trying to say to us, that maybe he may be humbled to find his way back. Because to occupy such a high positions with all the ways and the pressures of the world, the presentations that are made to poison his mind and mislead and lead him, the Lord himself did not kill him, but instead he said he allowed him to see if he can come back to him. It's an act of love. Could have killed him. Could have said something like those that we have professed and died, that we know they died because they decided to challenge God. And the Lord said to him, that's your last day, and they died. But the Lord allowed him to live and say, you will see. And this is an opportunity for you to see if you can become something, if he can be used. So those that are planning to assassinate Pope Francis must think twice and remember the cause the Lord have said. So for our church, you see that the Lord has a clear path and a historical events and situations to demonstrate how God chooses his own. And that is the path we must follow. Now I am going to take you into the New Testament. In the New Testament, in the book of Luke chapter 5, in verse 1, then you will see the calling of the disciples. He told the story about the fishing, how he saw two boats lying at the edge and the lake, but the fishermen had gone out of them and were watching their nets. Verse 3, and he got into one of the boats, which was Simon's, and asked him to put out a little way from the land, and he sat down and began teaching the people from the boat. When he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, put out into the deep water and let down the net, your nets, for a catch. First, Jesus Christ prepared them by teaching to them, and he demonstrated the power so that they may believe. Simon answered and said, Master, Simon is good at unbelief. Master, we worked hard all night and caught nothing, but I will do so as you say. I'll do as you say. But he was obedient and let down the net. When they had done this, they enclosed a great quantity of fish, and their net began to break. So they signaled to their order. You hear Peter say, Go away from me, Lord, for I am a sinful man. For amazement has seized him and all his companions because of the catch of fish which they had taken. What is his calling? And so also were James and John, sons of Zebedee, who were partners with Simon. And Jesus said to Simon, Do not fear. From now on, you will be catching men. When they had brought their boats to land, they left everything